And welcome to the Fantasy Football Units podcast. I am Alex Bruno here with Jordan Hudson. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm definitely doing better than a lot of the injuries for key fantasy players that we had this week. The first one I want to touch on is the very gruesome injury that happened to Dak Prescott. I'm wishing for a speedy recovery right now. I know it's about 4 to 6 months out at least. I really hope Jerry Jones and the Cowboys stand by him and pay him, instead of just letting him go off next year into free agency. So we'll just have to see what happens like that. But they do have what I believe is the best backup in the league in Andy Dalton. And it's not just because he has red hair. He does really good. He's a good game manager. He's going to go out there and get you 18 to 24 points a game. You know, he's going to throw an interception here or there, but he's also going to throw 2 touchdowns a game. So be on the open, look for him on your waivers and stuff, especially if you lost Dak Prescott and you're in a 2 QB league and there's not a lot of choices left. So go ahead and go grab him, definitely.
Yeah. That was bad with Dak Prescott. I remember watching it and his foot just dangling there. It was pretty nasty.
Yeah, I mean, but he handled it like a champ. He just sat there. He didn't cry until he realized, man, I'm not going to be able to play the rest of the season, most likely.
Yeah, well, Jerry Jones has also already came out and said that, he's willing to pay him. He just hasn't said when or what number.
Jerry Jones says a lot of things that I don't believe. I mean, he's a shiesty businessman, so we'll see. The next player to touch on is Deontay Johnson. He left with a back injury in the first quarter. From what I understand, it was just a back spasm, so we'll see. Hopefully he'll be back week 6, so we'll keep you guys posted on that and let you know more on Saturday. The next player, Sammy Watkins, he left the second half with a hamstring injury. And as we all know, guys, hamstring injuries could be a week out. It could be 4 weeks out. It's one of those things you have to let it heal all the way or he's not going to be 100% and he's going to re-aggravate it most likely. Another player, DJ Chark, left the game with an ankle injury. That's good news for you guys that hopefully already own LaVisca. I know I've went ahead and snagged him early in a couple leagues, but he's still available and probably less than half of the league, so go look for him on your waivers. Be willing to spend 10-15% of your fab on him. He was already getting 6-7 targets a game with Chark there, so we could see that number go up to 8 or 9.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about Gardner Minshew not having DJ Chark, because last time when he didn't have him, he just was not good at all.
Yeah, but LaVisca was doing good even when Chark wasn't there. I mean, the targets he got, he did stuff with them. I mean, I'm pretty sure he had 2 wide receiver 2 finishes those games Chark were out.
Okay.
And the last player I'm going to touch on as far as injuries is Dalvin Cook. He left the third quarter with a groin injury, and I know that the head coach said that he could possibly be back this week, but I don't trust it at all. I think they're going to sit him out because they know they have a bye week the next week, so that means you should be targeting Alexander Madison, but just know that he's only a 1-week rental. Don't spend all your fab on him unless you need that win right now. Unless you're 0-5 and you need a win to even have a chance to get to the playoffs, or you're 1-4, go snag him for a week, and maybe somebody will think that Cook's going to be out longer, or maybe we'll learn something that Cook injury is going to last longer. So I know I already had him in my bench in a couple of leagues, so he's starting this week, but don't spend too much of your fab on him if you're already 3-2, 4-1. Just let somebody else have him for a week.
Yeah, if you do happen to get him off the waiver, he is a must start because he will be that workload back.
Oh, I mean, he will be just another Dalvin Cook that's a little more elusive, a little less power back.
So he can break off for those long runs that Dalvin Cook.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and he can truck a player or two, but not quite like Dalvin Cook can.
Right. Any more injuries?
Not that are super fantasy significant. We'll let you guys know more about that. I mean, we have some players that have been limited or missing practice, but it's too early in the week to decide. We'll let you know more about that on Saturday's episode.
All right. So with some actual news going around the NFL, the Falcons finally released head coach Dan Quinn and their general manager.
It's about time. I know Falcon fans are happy. I know Falcon players are probably happy. So we'll see. I'm not quite sure who the interim head coach for them is going to be, or if they're just going to try to hire somebody off the streets and say, "Here you go. It's a good team. Just do something with it," or at least a good offense.
Yeah, hopefully the Falcons' offense turns around a little bit. I mean, I know they've scored a lot of points in a couple games, but
Yeah, but those
something needs
couple
to
games
happen.
were against the Cowboys and against the Seahawks, which both teams are giving up the like second and 31st like worst
Right.
passing yards per game. So that's not much to say.
Le'Veon Bell released from the Jets. Speaking of coaches that need to get released,
That's the ultimate tanking move. That's all they're trying to do right now. I think they're trying to go after that Clemson kid, which personally, I don't think that's the best move. I think there's better quarterbacks coming out of this QB draft next year, but I mean, I definitely think they'll end up with Trevor. They're trying to tank for Trevor Lawrence and possibly hire the Clemson head coach. That's what I've been hearing rumors about.
that would be crazy.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. Devontae Adams, a full participant in practice for the Packers finally.
Like I said, I was really happy with basically what the coaches and stuff did with him. Let him heal all the way. He's way too crucial of a piece to be throwing him back out there a week or two early. Because I know Devontae Adams said on Twitter that, oh, I guess somebody else knows my body better than I do when he was trying to come back in week 4. But I'm really glad the coaches were like, nope, sorry, we're holding you for week 6. We have a bye week in week 5. There's no sense in playing you in week 4. So I think he's going to come back out there and be that 15 target a game, 120 yards and a touchdown for you.
Yeah, that's going to be very nice to see. Cam Newton activated from the reserve COVID list.
Yeah, it's real funny how they're supposed to wait 3 weeks and it's only been 2 and he somehow gets to play, but I digress.
Right, and the Patriots' first practice will start tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, that's plenty of time for them. We saw what the Titans did. I mean, we've seen what these teams can do not playing practice. They're like, nope, we just need to show up.
Right. Drew Lock, a full participant in today's practice for the Broncos.
That's good news for the Broncos if
Right.
they even want to have a chance of getting to the wild card.
Right, they just need Fant to come back healthy.
Yeah, but I think he can do it. He can figure out how to do it with Judy and just other players around him and stuff. And, I mean, with another part of the news that you're about to talk on about the same team, like...
Yeah. Melvin Gordon, running back for the Broncos, charged with a DUI, and he was speeding 20 miles per hour over the
Actually, it was more than 25. It was listed at 25 to 39
Oh my
miles and
goodness.
over. So most likely he was probably doing over 40 over, and the cop just, was a little lenient.
Yeah.
From what I understand, he was at a dinner with some friends, was drinking wine, and decided to drive home, which obviously he shouldn't have.
Right.
But the NFL usually waits until the actual sentencing or till, like, guilty, not guilty. They wait till some part of the court's done to, like, issue their suspension. So you could still see him out there, but I doubt it because the Broncos are probably going to suspend him, even though I know he called John Elway right away and was like, look, I apologize. I'm taking full responsibility for this. Like, John Elway's really going to appreciate that, but I think he's going to have to make an example out of him and at least like the team suspend him for 2 or 3 games. And if so, Philip Lindsay
Yeah, what a coincidence.
Philip Lindsay is going to be the man coming back from turf toe. I mean, he's gotten 1,000 yards both seasons.
Yeah, pick him up if he's in your waiver wire.
He shouldn't be in your waiver wire
Oh, he
anymore if
is
you were
in a
listening
couple.
to us last week and we told you to pick him up. But
Yeah. But yeah, good luck to you in getting him. So that's it for the news. Moving on with games of the week. I have the battle for Pennsylvania.
I don't know why
Philadelphia
anybody would
versus
ever want to
Pittsburgh.
win that.
Despite the Steelers having a good game defensively with 2 interceptions and 5 sacks, it was still a pretty close game. Carson Wentz did go 20 for 35 with 258 yards and 2 touchdowns with those 2 interceptions that he threw to Pittsburgh's defense. Miles Sanders surprisingly had a good game against a defense that stops the running back so far this year.
I was not expecting him to. I mean, he was my number 2 running backs in the league that I have him, so I had to start him. And when he finished the game with like 25-plus points, I was ecstatic.
Yeah, those 25-plus points coming off 11 carries with 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. The man was looking good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's nobody to sleep on at all. He's going to end up finishing as a top 7, 8 running back, if not top 5.
Carson Wentz found this guy named Travis Fulgham, throwing him the ball 13 times, where he caught 10 of them for 152 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, Fulgham's, I mean, he's been on a few different teams and practice squads and got snatched up here or there, but he looked really, really good.
And Greg Ward, 4 for 5 with 26 yards and a touchdown. That was pretty much, the only receivers doing anything. I'm real concerned about Zach Ertz going 1 for 6 for 6 yards.
It's because he's getting double teamed. He's getting double teamed by a linebacker and a safety. I mean, that's kind of hard.
Yeah, it just sucks seeing that, especially for the draft capital that he was, and you probably spent your 5th, 6th round on him.
Yeah, if not 4th, depending on the league you're in. If you're in a tight end premium league, he probably went in the 2nd round. But, I mean, we're going to do a segment for you guys later about trade targets. He didn't make the list this week, but he should be a trade target of yours. You could definitely buy him for a low price right now.
Right, definitely. On the flip side, for Pittsburgh, Big Ben went 27 for 34 with 239 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Big Ben's really surprised me. I did not think he was going to be this good. Like, I did not draft him. I still wouldn't, trade for him or anything, because I just have a feeling something's going to happen. But he's really surprised me this year.
Yeah, and who else has really been surprising is James Conner. 15 carries. He did only get 44 yards, but he has been getting in the end zone like he did this past week with 1. He's been looking like the James Conner before he got injured, right when they got rid of Le'Veon Bell. So he could finish in top 6 maybe this season.
I see that being his absolute ceiling. I see that those 100-yard games, those 2 touchdown games, touchdowns every game, stuff like that. That's going to regress some. I think he'll finish somewhere around 9 or 10 though. Definitely the top. He'll be an RB1 at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's been exciting to watch him play. Chase Claypool, a rookie that probably most people didn't expect to have that great of a game. He went 7 for 11 with 110 yards and all 3 of Big Ben's touchdowns.
I mean, when you're 6'4", 240 pounds, and you move like Jerry Jeudy does, that's what the head coach at Seattle does. He drafts wide receivers that nobody thinks about. All these players that he's drafted over the years, Juju, AB, all of them, none of them came in the 1st round. They came in the 2nd round or later. The man has a gift.
Right, and Claypool also carried the ball 3 times and got it into the end zone rushing.
Yeah, that little sweet play into the end zone.
Yeah, so, if he's still on your waiver wire, then he's definitely a target for waivers. I would probably spend 20%.
He's on most waiver wires. Honestly, yeah, 20% is the minimum I would spend. If you really need a wide receiver, I'd spend 35%.
Yeah, because with Deontay Johnson being out, like you said, he's going to get, a lot of targets that Deontay Johnson would have gotten.
That and outside of those 2 games Juju had, he's just not been that impressive.
Right, Juju went 4 for 5 with 28 yards.
Oh yeah,
so
he was definitely a bust this week.
This up and coming week, Chase Claypool could probably have another game like that. I wouldn't say 4 touchdowns total, but he could.
No, I don't think that'll ever happen again in his career.
No, he could get 9, 10 targets though for sure. What about your game of the week?
My game of the week was the only game that went to overtime. The Los Angeles Chargers at the New Orleans Saints. It was one of the biggest games this week as far as fantasy production is concerned. Both QBs finished in the top 10. Breeze finished QB 10, and Herbert finished QB 4 on the week. Breeze finally topped 300 yards again for the 2nd time in the season. He got you a touchdown in the air and on the ground, which happens once a decade for Breeze, as we know. Herbert finished the game with 265 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Very nice.
Both of them were looking good. There was at least one running back on both sides of the field that looked good. Camaro had a really solid game. He didn't find the end zone, but he did have 45 yards on 11 carries, and he did get 10 targets again, catching 8 of them for 74 yards. So he still got you 19 points, probably 20 points, depending on your format.
Right. Still solid.
Yeah, on the other side of the ball, everybody thought Kelly was going to have a good game, but he just didn't. He kind of disappointed, 11 carries for 29 yards. But Justin Jackson looked really good. He had more carries, he had more production. He just looked all around better than Kelly did. He finished the game with, what was it? I can't even find it right now. But he had it was 74 yards on 15 carries, and then caught 5 of his 6 targets. He was just looking really good out there. Unfortunately, my boy Keenan Allen left the game early, but before he did, he had an amazing touchdown. He went 2 for 2 for 32 yards and a touchdown. Let's see. As far as like the ball catchers of the game, Sanders had he might not have had the best fantasy game because of the touchdowns that Williams got, but he had the best game in my opinion. 12 catches on 14 targets for 122 yards, but Williams just dominated on his side of the ball. 8 targets, 5 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 very impressive catches where he just went up and snatched the ball out of the air. And with Keenan Allen possibly going to be out, we could see that those targets go up to 10, 11. I mean, Keenan Allen's averaging 12 a game right now, so those targets got to go somewhere.
Right.
You know, that means Henry's probably going to get 2, 3 more targets a game. Justin Jackson and Kelly are going to split 3 or 4 of those targets, and then I think the other two
Jackson is going to get 3 and Kelly will get 1.
Yeah, I think this is going to end up being the Justin Jackson show for them, not the Joshua Kelly
Until
show.
Eckler comes back.
Yeah, well, and when Eckler comes back, I think that Justin Jackson will go back into that Joshua Kelly role. Mm-hmm. But overall, it was like a really fun game to watch, and it's always cool when you get a little bit of extra football with the overtime.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching Justin Herbert. Obviously, I talked about him in previous episodes. I really enjoy watching him play. He's looking great as a rookie. I think he's, in my opinion, looking better than Joe Burrow right now.
Oh, he's definitely, as far as offensive rookie of the year, like he would have to be in first place in my opinion, outside of maybe James Robinson.
Okay, I could see that.
If Jefferson continues to have games like he's been having, because he had a pretty off game this week, if Ruggs can continue, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually has some, outburst games, but at this point right now in the race, I think Justin Herbert's in first place.
Well, he better be. Moving on with booms and busts.
Which one you want to do first?
Let's go with booms this time.
Booms first? All right. I'll start off with one that we're not going to be on too many boom shows, but I wanted to do it because it's fun. The Ravens defense.
Okay.
They got 26 points this week.
Very nice.
They only allowed 3 points. They had 7 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 of them that they recovered, 2 interceptions, and a defensive touchdown.
Were one of those touchdowns a pick six?
Honestly, I don't know if it's one of the fumble recoveries or the pick six. I did not watch the game.
Okay. Well, my first boom of the week is Mike Davis. Probably one of the last games he'll be able to be a boom of the week. 16 carries, 89 yards, 10 targets, catching 9 of them for 60 yards and a touchdown. The man is looking good as far as a replacement for Christian McCaffrey and for the Carolina offense. And having Teddy Bridgewater as his quarterback, he's been looking nice also. So that just is helping Mike Davis. Maybe this is the last week that he is in for Christian McCaffrey's replacement, because it's looking like they're letting Christian McCaffrey heal till he's 100%. Just off the production Mike Davis has been giving week in and week out.
Yeah, week 4 would have been this week, so you might have him one more week, because next week will be the week 5. So hopefully for CMC owners, be safe. Let him take the extra week. Let him come back in week 8.
Right, because he's not hurting your team at all.
No, he shouldn't be.
At all. Next boom?
My next boom, again, switching it up a little bit, I picked Graham Gano.
All right.
He's actually, me and him went to the same high school. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and he kicked a 62-yard field goal in a game then went to Florida State and kicked like a couple 59ers in a 61. But he was 2 for 2 on his extra points, and then he was 4 for 4 on his field goals, and 3 of them were for 50 yards plus. So he finished with 20 points.
Nice. That is what you want.
8-5-0 in the house.
Very nice.
I bet Carolina's real mad that they got rid of him now.
Another boom I have is not one that many people expect, really, or they probably just sleep on him, is Jamison Crowder. Week in and week out, he's been getting that. He's healthy. He's been getting the targets he deserves on the Jets team, going for 10 targets, catching 8 of them for 116 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, even with Flacco last week, he was out week 2 and 3, but week 1 and 4 with Darnold, he got 10 plus targets, 100 yards.
Yeah.
And then week 5 with Flacco, 10 plus targets, 100 yards.
Yeah, he's becoming to look like a must start for your teams, even with a horrible offense in the Jets. But guess what? There's no one else to throw to.
But just know that you should be playing him in your flex. He is not a wide receiver 1 or 2 because there are going to be those weeks like that. Those numbers are not sustainable.
No.
10 plus targets and 100 yards every game and then half a touchdown. Like that's just not sustainable. Y'all got to understand regression is coming for that. Mm-hmm. But if you have him and you can trade him high right now, especially in a PPR format for somebody who's struggling for a wide receiver, go out there, go get you a David Montgomery or something like that. Get you like a little piece who... Actually, no, David Montgomery, that was a horrible example. I wouldn't trade Target for him in anything. I'll come back to that, but definitely you should be trying to sell him high right now, especially in PPR formats.
What about your next boom?
My next boom, you already spoke on him earlier, so I'm gonna pivot to a different one. I'm gonna talk about Brandon Cooks.
Okay.
Brandon Cooks saw his most targets this year. 12 targets, 8 catches, 161 yards, and a touchdown. So hopefully we could see, because when D-Hop was there taking all those extra targets away and Fuller was able to stretch the field and stuff, he had higher fantasy games, but he's been doing really good getting his, 8 to 10 targets a game. But I would love to see Cooks come in and get, 9, 10, 12 targets a game. That way we could see it open up for Fuller too. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited that hopefully Cooks and Watson finally have that connection.
Yeah, Cooks was definitely looking nice this last week. My next boom is Mr. Fitzmagic. I know I talk about him a lot.
Oh, God, you're obsessed with this
guy. I mean, what's not to like about his production? He went 22 for 28, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns.
But did you see what he did last week?
Yeah, and that's probably the only week.
Nah, he'll probably have a bad week next week.
Well, the only week so far, but, I mean, this guy is honestly...
he's like the QB4
in the
league right now.
He's either a starter or a streamer week to week, so... what not to like. And if you have, a Russell Wilson right now that's on a bye week, you might want to go and
definitely
get Fitzmagic off the waiver wire.
But I don't trust him to own him season long.
No. But definitely this week you'd want him going against the Jets.
Yeah.
He could repeat this type of stat line. Definitely.
All right, well, my last boom is the Gurley man.
All right.
Todd Gurley. He finished the game with 14 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown, and then finally got 5 targets a game, catching 4 of them for 29 yards. So, the guys, I was going to say like I was mentioning, but that was just me and you talking earlier. But I was telling him earlier, David Johnson and Todd Gurley have both been, reliable RB2s for you. They've both had one bust game, but they've been reliable RB2s for you. They're going to go out there and they're going to get you 12 points a game. Right. And that's all you can ask for out of an RB2. Yes, they're going to have these boom games like Gurley did this week. They're going to have those boom games like David Johnson did week 1. But all those other weeks, you might have 2 or 3 bust games throughout the season, but I'll take those 2 or 3 bust games for all these 12-point, just solid floor numbers.
Yeah, I would definitely say Todd Gurley would definitely be a sell high trade option if you're looking to get a better piece for your roster.
Especially if you have a Rams fan that still loves him, or you have a Atlanta fan that fell in love with him, was so excited when he got drafted. You could go out there and get you a solid wide receiver piece.
Definitely. Speaking of wide receivers, my boom is DJ Moore. He went 4 for 5, 93 yards, and finally got in the end zone. Finally. He's been a reliable weapon for Teddy Bridgewater. Unfortunately, he does have to compete with Robbie Anderson for those targets, but with the targets or with the receptions he gets, he does produce in yards. So he has gotten solid floors as far as week to week. He hasn't gotten less than 8 points. It's not too bad, but as long as he gets in the end zone, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say he's quite touchdown dependent, especially if you're in a half-point or full-point PPR.
Oh, no, not
at all.
But
the touchdown definitely does, boost him up to those, wide receiver 1 finish weeks. But he's a week in, week out wide receiver too. Like especially that like the more him and Teddy get comfortable with each other.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone's catching on to how much Teddy is throwing to Robbie Anderson, so maybe they start double teaming him, and that opens up the field more for DJ Moore.
Yeah, because DJ Moore's still the de facto number one there because
Right.
he is the better receiver than Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson's just getting the second cornerback or getting that first linebacker.
Right.
Like he's not getting the number one cornerback from the team to like blanket him the whole game.
Right, and for some people, DJ Moore was their first receiver they picked up in the draft. So
Yeah, especially if you went running back heavy and you grabbed him in the say third round, fourth maybe,
Right.
or probably the fourth round.
right,
So in third round you were grabbing Thielen.
right, so they're probably really hoping he gets in the end zone. They'll come.
Yeah.
They'll come.
Well, we're going to move on to the busts of the week. My favorite one this week because he messed me up in so many leagues last week. George Kittle. 4 for 8 for 44 yards. Unless you're in PPR, that man completely crapped the bag for you. I'm sorry. He did. I was so excited to see Kittle owners not get nothing from him this week. Because, like, unfortunately, I didn't draft him in any league. I would be
Right.
excited if I had him. But, I mean, oh, man. It was
Right.
just so
I-
sweet.
I personally played against him last week and this week, and I was definitely happier this week when I see that.
Everybody that played him this week was happier.
Right. Matt Ryan, my first bust.
Yeah, he was ice cold this week.
Yeah.
He didn't have ice in
Matty-
his veins. He was just ice cold.
He was just regular old Matty Ice. 21 for 37, 226 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns. And he had 1 rush for -1 yards.
That's a really impressive stat line.
Yeah.
That's like he just kneeled the ball.
It's great. I love it.
My next one, I touched a little on him earlier, but I'm going to elaborate on it. Joshua Kelly. 11 carries for 29 yards. That's 2.8 yards a carry. 1 catch for 9 yards. Like, this man did good for 2 weeks and then has been fumbling the ball or not producing.
For the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if it was, the game script and stuff and them not expecting Kelly because it was the first time they ever saw him in those first 2 games. And then since then they've made game plans for him, opposing defenses, or what it is. But Justin Jackson's definitely the better 2 of those running backs right now until Eckler comes back.
Yeah, and for some reason, if he's on your waiver wire, Justin Jackson definitely should be someone you're picking up. I don't know why
he probably would have got picked up already, but
Yeah.
if he's still on there, grab him for sure.
Yeah. My next bust, Tyler Boyd. Pretty much every Cincinnati player had a bust week this week. He went 4 for 6 and 42 yards. He did get the targets. Unfortunately, just did not get the yards on the receptions that he's been getting throughout the season.
Yeah, Mixon salvaged his day a little bit with that touchdown, getting you like 15, 16 points depending on your format, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
My next one's Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been looking good every game this season. He hasn't had a bad finish yet, but this week was bad. 2 for 4 for 23 yards, and then 1 carry for -2 yards.
Right.
And I mean, he can't. You
Against
can't.
the Giants.
Yeah, against the Giants, and you can't really use Dak going down because Dak had only targeted him 2 times before he went down. So, I mean, it definitely is a QB downgrade. Having Andy Dalton there because Dalton's going to be more of a game manager, put up 230, 250 yards a game, not the on track to 6,500 yards for a season Dak Prescott was having, but
Right.
he'll definitely still get valuable targets.
Well, yeah, maybe it's a target upgrade because Dalton will just like to throw to the number 1 receiver on the depth chart and on the playbook.
I see a lot more of those targets going to Zeke, though, because he loved checking down to Mixon
True.
back there. I mean, he did target Green a lot, but that's because he had no other receivers around Green. And now he has Green, he has Amari Cooper, CD Lamb, and Michael Gallup.
And Dalton Schultz.
And Dalton Schultz.
Tyler Lockett, another receiver that's been looking good throughout the season, and just the last 2 weeks has been a stinker. 4 for 5 on 44 yards. It's not that great, but I mean, when you have DK Metcalf stealing everything from you pretty much, and I mean, Tyler Lockett did drop a pass on like the 1 yard line and could have gotten into the end zone. So that kind of sucked. But
Yeah, it did. Well, my last bust player is Joe Burrow.
mm,
I still don't think, if you already own him, I don't think he's droppable because of this 1 week by no
no,
chance.
it's Baltimore.
And if you're in a 2 QB league and maybe that did uh,
Hurt you.
that not even hurt you, hurt an opponent, and they put Joe Burrow on the trade block because they got all butthurt about it. Go get him right now. But other than that, look for him to bounce back next week. Doesn't matter who his opponent is. Doesn't matter who he's played this year. He's done good. He had one bad game against arguably one of the top 3 defenses in the league. So don't trip.
Yeah, he's still going to be good.
He's still going to be smoking a cigar at the end of the year. Not in the playoffs or anything, but he's probably going to have one.
The season.
Yeah, I finished the season. I'm not hurt, and I've got at least 1 or 2 rookie records.
Right. My last bust is Devin Singletary. He did not look good at all. 11 carries for 25 yards and 1 catch for 8 yards. It was bad. I mean, he only got 4 points in PPR, so I can only imagine what else he got in other leagues.
Yeah, probably not really good.
It was horrible.
Okay, guys, so our last segment, we're going to talk about tonight's couple of trade targets. We both picked 2 players. We're going to explain to you whether we're going to buy them low, whether, if you are the owner, if you should sell them high, like a bunch of just give you information about the player, why you should be trade targeting them, or why you should be getting rid of them. So do you want to start with your first one, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go first. Mike Williams, a guy that we talked about a little bit, with Keenan Allen being questionable right now, so it obviously is looking good for Mike Williams on the target side. He did get 8 this past week, catching 5 of them for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns from that impressive performance by Herbert. Herbert shows trust in Williams, especially with jump balls, obviously, because he just goes up and grabs it out of the air. And even as a deep target option and an end zone option. So it's a no-brainer that you should target this guy. And his next 6 weeks, he does have a bye. He then plays Jacksonville, Denver, Las Vegas, Miami, and the Jets.
All teams that are not exactly strong against the wide receiver.
Right, and he's a big, elusive guy. So it's definitely someone that if you're trying to trade him and get a good running back or something, you could sell high on him. And if you are trying to target him, you will have to buy high as well at this point.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to sell him, you should wait till after the bye week. That way the person can start him, because usually, especially in redraft leagues, people are more apt to actually trade the player if they can use the player that week. But you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
All right, so my first trade target is Tyler Boyd. After having a disappointing week 5, he's gonna have probably another disappointing next week against the Colts. So you can look at this 2 ways. You can either try to get him now, explain to the Boyd owner that hey, he's got to face the Colts next week. He doesn't have the best schedule for the rest of the year. Or you can take that risk, go ahead and go trade for him now, and then explaining to them that they have to play the Colts next week and all that stuff, and then you can get him for a little bit lower. But AJ Green's not looking that good this year.
No.
I think
Drop
Boyd's,
AJ Green.
yeah, I wouldn't say drop him yet unless you absolutely have to. But again, unless you absolutely have to drop him. But I think Boyd's going to get a lot more opportunities for the rest of the season. Just send the Boyd owner an offer they can't refuse, which you shouldn't have to send as much as you would have a week or 2 ago. And just let them know who their opponent is week 6. Let them know they're going to have a weak game. Here, I can go ahead and trade you this player that's going to have you a strong game. Bite the bullet for that 1 week, and now you've got a wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season.
Right, he definitely is going to finish top 12.
Oh yeah, no doubt in my mind.
Piggybacking off of that horrible Bengals performance against the Ravens, Joe Mixon is a good trade option or trade target as well. He receives an average of 25 touches a game. He has a solid floor, and he right now is currently in the top 10 of running backs right now, even with that horrible performance. Those touchdowns definitely saved him. Getting into the end zone is obviously going to save him, but he can get you 12, 15 points a game just based on the touches and yards, because he will get receptions as well. And like you said, just coming off a bad game against the Ravens and going into a bad matchup against the Colts who shut down the running back and the passing game. So it might be another tough game for the Bengals, as you were saying. So you could, go to an owner of Joe Mixon and be like, hey, I can give you this receiver piece that'll do this and that for you.
Yeah, just look at your opponent's team, see what they need, see what you can give away, and try to buy them low right now.
Yeah, definitely with the Bengals players, even if you want Joe Burrow too.
Oh, in any Bengals player, you should be buying super low.
Mm-hmm.
So my last trade target's Deebo Samuel. To me, he's one of the easiest trade targets you can find right now. Most owners drafted him in the 4th round as their wide receiver too. He's been injured. We thought he was coming back week 1 or 2. He didn't come back till week 4. He's had 2 pretty disappointing games. Granted, last week was kind of a fluke because Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't hit the side of a barn from 10 yards away.
Well, he got benched at halftime.
Yeah.
We had an injury too.
Yeah, he couldn't do anything. Their backup quarterbacks are crap. Mm-hmm. He had 8 targets and only caught 3 of them. So, that's obviously he's going to catch more, especially if Jimmy G does, get healthy and come back. Mm-hmm. He was on the field 89% of the time on Sunday.
So much for being limited at snaps.
Yeah, well, he was 34% the week before. Mm-hmm. So, they were just limiting that 1 week. Mm-hmm. But, Jimmy G's not going to have those types of games for the rest of the season. That's just kind of fluke. It might happen once or twice more.
Neither will Kittle, so...
you could very well get Deebo right now for a wide receiver 2 on your team, or good RB that's in a committee, like a David Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, something like that. Especially if you're in full point PPR. Actually, no, I wouldn't trade Jonathan Taylor for him, but if you can find somebody that wants Dobbins or somebody that wants, I'd be willing to give James Robinson away for Deebo Samuel. Not a lot of people would, but I would, because I think Deebo's going to end up finishing the year averaging those 9-10 targets a game, catching 6 or 7 of them for 80-90 yards a game and, 0.8 touchdowns. So,
if you had him, would you wait maybe one more week to try and sell him high?
Oh, yeah. If I had him, I would wait one more week. But if you're targeting him in a trade, go get him now before he does have that, boom game. And then all of a sudden his price goes way up.
Right. I don't have any more trade targets, do you?
No, that was it for my trade target. I figured we'd wrap it up after that.
What about in certain platforms where they're doing the late waiver wire?
Oh yeah, if you got lucky and you're in a league that they
Yahoo.
Yahoo, or just a league that they care about it being fair, because I know there's some leagues on Sleeper that people are just like, nope. They're going to process when they process. So if you're lucky enough to still be able to go after some waiver wires tonight, obviously Chase Claypool, you're going to want to spend 20 to 35% on him. Laviska Shenault, you should have already had him on your team if you listened to us last week, but you need to be going after him.
Travis Fulgham.
Yeah, we'll see how Travis Fulgham does. I'm not willing to spend that much money on him, and I know somebody else is going to end up spending way too much on him. Obviously, Philip Lindsay, again, if you listened to us last week, you would have already had him. Joe Burrow, because people are going to drop him after that game. Go grab Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I don't know why they would drop him.
He's the QB 11 right now. With that finish, he might have dropped down to QB 13, 14, but he's still he's a high end QB 2 right now.
Yeah, or rent Fitzmagic for the week if you have a quarterback on a bye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely rent Fitzmagic or Teddy for the week. Both of them have pretty good matchups this week.
Definitely. Any other notes for you?
No. That's it.
All right. The only closing notes I have are, it's not too late to hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, email us for those start sit, even trades. We've gotten asked a few trades so far. So don't forget to hit us up on Twitter at the fantasy units, and Instagram at the fantasy football units, and our Gmail is at fantasyfootballunits@gmail.com. It is not too late. There is no Thursday night matchup, so you have up until 10 a.m. Sunday morning to get those questions in.
Yeah, guys. And drop us some reviews on Apple, Spotify, Overcast, whatever you use.
YouTube. Anything.
Comments.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah. We don't mind.
No.
With that, be well, you the gang.
And remember, come with us if you want to win.
Mm-hmm.